Now that we have our contact form working, our next step is to provide some feedback for our users. That way the user knows that their message went through. I will fill out the form right now and just show you the current process that we have so you can see what the issue is at this current moment. Let me just fill out the form here. New email, message. So if I hit send message, the form submitted, we know that the email got sent, but our user has no idea what just happened. So we want to give them some feedback. So we've been using Bootstrap as our CSS framework, and they have these alerts. So I'd like to bring one of these in and go ahead and render that if we have some sort of alert to show. But as a first stab, I'm just going to put it in the layout file and see what it looks like. Let's jump back to PHP Storm. Let's go to our layout file, layout.blade, and right after our navigation, let's just add that code in and check it out on the browser. So that would be fine. Right in there, we can say maybe strong success. Thanks for your message. We'll be in touch. All right, there we go. That will work. Maybe let's make it green, change it to alert success. All right, so now we have this, but of course we don't want to display this every single time. I'm just adding it in for now just so we can get our design dialed in. So now that we have that, we know we're going to use this. So of course we need to wrap this in some sort of if statements. But before we do that, let's go to the contact controller and learn how to actually do it. So let's take a look at our flow. So right now, when we hit the send message button, we know we hit this store method. The store method validates our data. If there's any validation errors, it goes back and shows the user those validation errors. So if that passes, then we pass that data to this new contact form mail mailable class where we actually send an email. And then we return a redirect to contact. So we basically redirect back to contact. But with this redirect, we can actually tag on another method on here. And let's just say with, and we can say message, and then we can put our message in there. Let's bring our message from the layout file. Thanks for your message. We'll be in touch. Let's actually cut it out and bring it in here. So thanks for your message. We'll be in touch. So now when we redirect, we're going to have this message inside our session, but only once, right? Because we're redirecting with, and we're only going to have that once. So now we can wrap this in that if statement. Let me cut it out and say if. We could use this session. So if the session has a message, that means we need to display our message. And if. And this is a new Blade directive. It works exactly the same way as it would in an if statement in regular PHP. So you say at if, and when you're done, at and if. So if you have a message, go ahead and echo out session get and get me the message is what we want. So we're basically diving into our session and saying, get me that message, and go ahead and output it right here. I'm going to hit save. Let's go back to Chrome, hit refresh, and our success message is gone. Of course it is. So let's go ahead now and submit our form. New customer, new email, message. All right, let's send message one more time. And there we go. So now we get thanks for your message. We'll be in touch. So this is the basics of flashing to your session. I do like that syntax where you have a redirect with. However, you may see this in a tutorial. You may see something like session, flash, and then we can basically have the exact same thing we had before. I'm going to cut it out and put it in here instead. So you may have this notation instead. And just to prove that it works exactly the same, let me submit another form. New customer, new email, message, send message. And there we go. Works exactly the same way. So either one would work. If you want to use the session and just flash to the session and that makes more sense, you could do it that way. Otherwise, again, you could redirect with message. I think both of those read really well. I do like the redirect with message approach a little bit better. So I'm actually going to undo back and put everything how it was. I do like this approach better. So redirect back to contact with message and then your message. I think that reads really, really well. If your message is really, really long, then you can always make this a new line. That way it breaks up into a new line. So that's it. Those are the basics of being able to flash some data that you're only going to use once. And what that means is, so we have this success message right here, but I'm going to refresh the page and our message is gone. So it only works in the first subsequent request. After that, that's it. It doesn't do it anymore. It simply flashes the session, then you do that, and then you're done. Another common thing is to actually hide the form altogether, right? So if we just submitted this form, it really makes no sense for us to display the form again. So the way you would do that is basically using something very similar to this if statement. So let's try that now. Let me go to my create method, and I can wrap this entire form in an if statement and say if, and then we're going to negate if this session has a message. So we're basically saying the opposite of that. If the session does not have a message, then display my form. Okay, so now we know we have the opposite. So this form will only display if there is no message. Let's check out the difference now. Let's go back to Chrome. Let me fill out this form. New email, message. All right, send message. And there we are. Thanks for the message. We'll be in touch, but there is no form. Obviously, from a design perspective, this is very crude. You wouldn't normally do it like this for production. You'd want to make it as pretty as you possibly can. What we're trying to illustrate is how you can flash your session and use those to display or not certain messages. Once we start looking at view and view components, this would be a great example for us to start using some view components. So once we get into our front end and Laravel section of this course, we'll take a look at that. But for now you know how to flash the session and how to display items on your page, whether that key is present in your session or not.